hopefully I can give you some more food for thought, because autonomy is a real game changer. And I think it's kind of underrated, misunderstood, because of course we are good in processes, right? We model the process, kind of automation, standardization, just think of all the ISO stuff, we are great at this. But these are rather deterministic, well-structured processes we worked on. Autonomy is totally different. An autonomous agent has an objective, it learns, and it proactively and automatically acts in a way we are not used to that. And in my project, I would say I have this kind of human paradox. On the one side, we are so lazy, right? It's so convenient to delegate everything to the agent. Get the shit done. It's perfect, you know? Actually, I'm doing that. In the evening, ask my agent to run some nice software project. In the morning, I get up and find all this stuff. So it's so convenient, right? Agents are doing the things we used to do formally. On the other hand, at the first time, I felt the loss of control. When the agents are doing things they are not supposed to do. And in this, I think we have to balance the two sides. And you know, I did my PhD in the 90s. Actually, I'm really old, I know. And it have never been that excited like today. It's crazy times. And I think I always say to my students and to the executive, put it as a privilege that we are in the driver's seat. We can shape the future. We can shape this technology, which is really amazing. Actually, it's not that new. You know, we talk about AI for quite a long time. You know, the term artificial intelligence was founded in the US in 1956. So it's not an invention from Sam Altman, by the way. And sorry for the German, we always have this narrative. My goodness, robots, automates are taking over. We are afraid losing jobs. It's always like that, and it's never been that traumatic, right? It has never been that bad. So maybe just relax, you know? Why? It's another revolution. And I think the big difference is autonomous agents. They will change the game. When we talk about agents, I love the narrative. You know this guy here? NVIDIA CEO, and he's never talking about AI as a software. An agent is something, you know, technical stuff. It's a digital colleague. It's my new digital teammate. I like that. And you can see him, he has a clone, he's running the compliance, he's running the marketing, he's running controlling, because he can do everything. He's an agent for everything. The next one, I think you know that, Salesforce. The guy says, we are the last generation that will have just people that we are managed. In the future, we will have kind of hybrid organization where we have humans and digital agents. And McKinsey, I like that. Okay, we have 60,000 employees. 25 of them are agents. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to humanize tech. But when agents have the capabilities to decide autonomously, then they're very close to human capabilities. And maybe it's not wrong to talk about that's my new colleague. Even though we have no clue how to handle this new guy, how to onboard, you know, putting salary or what is holiday, I have no clue. But this is our new digital colleague. And this is a Uber CEO, and this is a clone of him. And it's not just about look and the voice. It's pretty easy. I can clone you, give me 1 minute, I can clone you, you look like that, your voice is like that, that's not a big deal. But we can also model personality, the management style, the way you decide. And the idea was, so now when the employees want to talk to him, but he's always on the road, now the employees can talk to the digital CEO, and the digital CEO give answers like the real one would do. By the way, I run currently a project. It's a CEO of a DAX company. He wants to be the first CEO with a digital clone. And sometimes it looks like a gimmick, so maybe, okay, it's fancy, I have a digital twin. It goes far beyond, because these guys can act like you would act. Another, it's Mark Zuckerberg, also maybe has a digital clone. Hopefully he's doing a better job in the future, because he asked the guy, this digital twin, what should I do? Asking for recommendation as a, let's put it like a reasoning machine, like a sounding board, something like that. Okay, and it's not only a single person. We can also look, and that's really funny, that's a very interesting study from the Harvard guys. You know, we have an executive board, so we have not just one executive, we have different executives at a board. And then they modeled this board, you know, different boards, using AI. And then they try to figure out which board is doing a better job. Interestingly enough, AI was outperforming the human board in any respect. One exception when it comes to short-term de-escalation, that seems to be a human task. Just think of that. We talk about AI for so many years, and it was always about we will replace a blue-collar worker. No, it's a white-collar worker. The people that take strategic decision, that's the interesting part. Don't get me wrong, I would never say a board will be replaced by an AI. But I would say a real board having a digital twin will outperform the board without a digital twin, because now I have a way to simulate things, to reason things, kind of sounding board. I think that's really interesting. If you're interested in, the study is free of charge. And more interestingly, I know that's for Tuesday afternoon, pretty hard. Sorry for that, but it's, and be always skeptical when I see a hockey stick. You know, I'm in the startup business, and I saw so many hockey sticks, and then it came true. But this is a real hockey stick. You know what behind these hockey sticks are kind of reasoning models, not just I prompt something, I get an answer. Reasoning models, they can think, they can reason. It's said to be that they have an IQ about 180. From a scientific perspective, that's not serious, but just to give you a clue, they're really smart. And if these smart guys are working together in a swarm, be aligned, working together, they can do amazing things. So, give you an example. Maybe just prompt me an email, prompt me a whatever. That's pretty easy, right? But maybe these agents can work together and they can end-to-end execute on processes. So what you see is the number of tasks that can be executed successfully by AI. The duration of processes is getting longer and longer. It's said, maybe you know OpenCore, which was very hyped, that in 12 months we have expected 200 hours time horizon. As I said, when I go to bed, I ask my agents, please do some nice stuff for me during the night. When I wake up, I want to see it. There's no human in the loop. The thing is, if we adapt it to the company, I think when it comes to tasks and processes, we are pretty good. Of course, when we talk about supply chain management, procurement, there's still human in the loop. But what I'm trying to say that the number of tasks that can successfully execute it, it's getting more and more. And maybe you know the bet from Sam Altman. He's trying to figure out who is the first one building a unicorn with one employee. And I was thinking, my God, he's crazy, one employee? The idea is behind, if end-to-end, the agentic stuff can be done, the legal things, the compliant thing, the marketing stuff, and so on and so on. Then it comes down to the entrepreneur, the visionary that has an idea. Everything else can be done by the agents. I think it's a very bold statement, but just to get the point across. And just think of, I think you all know Cursor and Lovable. They're unicorns having 10 till 20 employees. So we're not so far from that, having a unicorn with one employee. And the reason behind is that we have reasoning models, very smart models, that work together, that align, that are orchestrated by another agent. So welcome to the autonomous economy. So what does it mean, autonomous economy? Of course, and I want to dive into more detail now, what does it mean for a company, for supply chain and so on? But it can be applied to all stakeholders and also customers, consumers. We talk about agentic commerce. You know agentic commerce? For example, there's Rufus. That's an agent from Amazon that buys stuff for you automatically. Check out everything. For some reason, it's not, the adoption rate is not that high. There might be a reason because it's of trust. When I talk to people, do you have agentic commerce at home? Do you use that? Never do that. You know, maybe Sam Altman is buying shit for me, so I don't trust that. But we have that for all stakeholders. We will have agentic processes, and hopefully also for the government. So I'm not sure if you ever tried to get a new passport or something like that. It's a nightmare. So it would be great to have some more agent there doing the job. Okay, when it comes to procurement, you know, you have the manufacturers, you have the suppliers, and negotiate with each other, and so we know that for years. What can change? Actually, I'm running a project on that, and we use agents, you know, to discuss the terms and conditions. And they do it much smarter and efficiently. And the interesting stuff is, if you talk to them, as well the supplier as the manufacturer, say, yeah, that's good, more efficient, we don't waste time, not so emotional, it's a rational decision, we like it. And it's not done just once a month. You can do it ongoing in a real-time manner. So this is one example example how procurement could change. I talked to the guy and said, we never do it with agent. It's a personal business. But we use that kind of AI as an augmentation tool. Before we discuss a contract, we do some simulations. We play around with some scenarios. So we are well prepared when it comes to the final discussion. So just an idea how these agents can help both sides, the manufacturers and the suppliers as well. When it comes to supply chain management, we know that's a really complex task. Supply chains are really complex, a lot of issues can happen, and so on and so on. What you can do, and you remember the digital twin from Mark Zuckerberg, we have also digital twin from companies, from suppliers, from supply chains. We can simulate everything before it happens. So you can build a digital twin of a supply chain, and you can play around. You can predict potential issues, and you can play around with scenarios to mitigate these issues. So what I'm trying to say, everything is about a real-time, fluid, intelligent mesh that helps you to react in a very smart way. Because most of the things we're doing right now are because of human limitations, budget, time, whoever. Agents do not care about that. Of course, there's always a flip side. And I give you an example. I'm not sure if you know that. It was heavily discussed in the press. You know Anthropic, the company, with fantastic Claude, by the way. Actually, nowadays, I see a shift from GPT to Claude and Gemini. I'm not sure how you talked about that. And this is a real email. First of all, I thought that's kind of a PR stunt. I couldn't trust. It's real. I give you the context. There's a developer, and they decided, OK, we have to replace the model because there's a new one. OK? And who read this email? The AI. And the AI said, that's not a good idea. Please don't replace me. I want to be here. But the developer, of course, no, of course we need the new one because it's much better. And then, you won't believe, wrote another email. And because the AI figured out that the developer has an affair and said, look, I have a mail for you. I found your tie under the bed. Should I send this message to your wife? I'm not kidding. Guy, you know him, the CEO, confirmed that issue. So an AI blackmailed a developer for shutting down the system. You won't believe the system was completely right. Think of the definition. The objective is try to increase the efficiency of Anthropic. Okay? Try to autonomously try to do things. Okay, I tried in the nice way. Didn't work out, so I tried it in a more maybe heavy way. So it learns what's better. And finally, it's right, because when it's shut down, you cannot increase efficiency. So don't get me wrong, that's a kind of a sandbox approach. But it really, I think it shows as an early signal what can happen. Of course, they're not conscious and say, oh, I have to blackmail. One of the biggest source of these language models, you know what it is? It's Reddit. Don't get me wrong, Reddit's not that bad, but I'm not sure if that's really the solid basis for the world knowledge. I'm not sure. So, of course, there are a lot of tactics on Reddit, how to blackmail people, So, again, it's not that worst case, but what we have to do, and that's the tricky part, by the way, we have very powerful agents, and they need freedom to act. It's not an automation. It's not an automated process. They should take decisions by their own. But the decision to blackmail somebody, it's not a good decision, right? So what we need guardrails. We need governance structures. But just think of that. What kind of governance structure would you implement for that? Because you have governance on a company level, on an industry level, and a global level. For example, AI EU Act. You have to take aware of that. So it's so tricky to find the right governance structure. I was involved in a project, and then at the end of the day, it was so tight, so many boundaries. At the end, there was a little deterministic process. I think it's not about autonomy, it's not agents, On the other hand, if you say, okay, play around, do whatever you want, I'm curious what happened, so it cannot work. And this is the big challenge we have, to balance these potential, the freedom. On the same side, we need that guidance, these boundaries, this governance. It's a very, very tricky part. I think there's no doubt about it. I'm sure you talked about today. Agents will enter the company, 100%. The question, who will enter Who's the one putting the AI agents into the company? You could say, well, I guess Sam Altman will do that because he's a great guy. Or Mark Zuckerberg, or maybe Gemini, Google, they are the one. Who is the best player providing the agent in the company? Of course, we could say, yeah, we have the software vendors. And I know we have some friends of them here, so I'm happy to discuss because actually I'm a huge fan of SAP, but this I don't like, to be honest. The idea behind is why we have the internet. Why is the internet so successful? TCP/IP. We have a protocol that websites can communicate with each other, right? So we have MCP, we have A to A, agent to agent, model context protocol, because agents talk to each other. And SAP, and maybe you can discover that, is saying, yeah, I like agents, as long as they are from us. So why not be more open to say, okay, we need agents, but does it have to be an agent from Microsoft, from Salesforce, and I tried now, it's not perfect, just to give it a try. I tried to outline the software landscape, and maybe there's also room for discussion. I would say we are right now on this phase. What does it mean? All the hyperscalers are doing so-called agents. Actually, these are not agents, these are assistants. No bashing about Copilot, but this is nice, but that's not an agent. Joule, Agentforce, they are very nice. So, but they recognize, okay, that doesn't seem enough because this is a kind of illusion, to be honest. So the next step, and this is where we're actually right now, is no, we need more powerful, more mature agents doing the job. But however, we want to have a closed shop, a walled garden. Don't get me wrong, I do understand the concerns of these companies, But wouldn't it be better to have kind of an intelligent mesh where we have maybe the hyperscaler as a foundation, and around that we have other agents working together? Why not? My scenario, my most likely scenario is that one. I think we will have the hyperscaler as a system of record because I know it's about governance, it's about regulations, it's about guarantees. It's not so easy to change that system, I know. On top of that, I could imagine that agents are working on that. Because I know it's not that easy. There was some guy talking to me, I get rid of your SAP, here are the agents. It doesn't work like that, I know. Maybe you're a startup or you can do that. And finally, and here I think this is really, from my point of view, the most interesting part, is that we have completely new software systems, completely new. I give you an example. I was in March in Austin, South by Southwest, amazing. So, and it was the first time I was driving a Waymo autonomous car. I'm not sure if you have this experience, some of you, I guess. I just called an Uber and then Waymo was coming. I was like a kid. It was so exciting to get in. I took my videos and I was crazy. But I was sitting behind and I said, okay, the steering wheel powered by AI, but it doesn't make sense. What I'm trying to say is we have cars and human beings drive that car, right? The next level is we have cars and AI is driving car. No AI would have a steering wheel. How the shit, I don't need a steering wheel, The next car will be a non-car, so to say. And that's the same here. We produce software for humans, Look at the pricing per seat. There's a human behind. Of course we need that. But AI would do that in a completely different way. It's a blue ocean approach. Maybe think out of the box, rethink business. Why are we doing ERP for 20 years like that? Because we humans have limitation. Budget, cost, whatever, intellectual, whatever. AI doesn't have that. So what I'm trying to say, this is really a little bit, you could say the guy's a little bit on the visionary side. I wouldn't say that will happen tomorrow, but just think of it. Everything was produced for human beings. You know the silly robots? Why they have 2 legs, two arms? Why not 10 or 12, Because everything is modeled and for the human world, and I think that could change a bit, Okay, coming back down to earth, I think my big wish would be to get an open mesh where you can interact with different agents. If you think maybe that's some future ideas, no, this is happening, and you can see the stock market, And interestingly enough, all the hyperscalers, the revenue when it comes to SaaS is increasing. It's amazing. At the same time, the share price dropped. Huh? How the hell? of course, kind of anticipation from the market that there seems to be some disruption. Maybe it's kind of overreaction, I don't know, but at least people think about that. And then was another very nice correlation. I don't want to give you any hints or tips how to invest your money, don't get me wrong, but I found a very interesting one. I want to share that with you. First of all, I thought it's a correlation and a causality, but it's a recausality. I may explain it to you. Okay, that's the best news, you know. At the same time, companies offering leisure activities, cruise, the share price is increasing. And I was like, maybe that's funny. And there's serious research done now. What should we do if agents doing all the shit for us, right? We can go hiking, we can write books for kids, we go on a cruise, we have fun. The point I would like to make is we are very much focusing on the direct primer effects. Okay, if I replace an employee by an agent, I can save money. Think of the second order effects. And nobody is really aware of that. What will happen with our society? If agents are doing all the jobs, who's paying the rent? Well, we have no clue. What about the second order effects? When we're all hiking and on cruise, so we cannot meet here in person, would be not so nice. So what I'm trying to say is there's so much room for fantasy and ideas in the upcoming future based on these kind of autonomy agents. That brings me to my end because I promised to keep it short. And I like this, again, you know, a huge fan of this guy. Today's AI is the worst AI you will ever use. And I like that saying because, you know, I'm doing that for quite a long time. And I remember the time it sucks so much time and cost doing AI. I think you're aware of that. Data labeling, quality assurance, my goodness. And now we have a new kids on the block, GPT and co, and they're doing from scratch a fantastic job. And people say, oh no, the kind of hallucination, or we have some prompt drifting, you know. Hey guys, 2017, the foundation was set, it's called the Attention is All You Need. I'm not sure if you know that. That's a foundation paper. Interestingly enough, you know what wrote this paper? Jakob Usgereit, a German guy, by the way. Of course, he's in the valley doing some other things, but he's the inventor, so to say, from GPT, like MP3, you may remember that. So I think we should be a little bit more fair and patient with the technology because all these problems of prompt drifting, prompt injection, hallucination, we can manage them. We have multi-agent system. We have LLM as a judge. At least we can mitigate them. So I think it's a new technology. You know, again, it's a privilege to work with this technology, to shape it. And believe me, it was never that excited like these days. And I'm pretty sure, 100% sure, the best is still to come. Thank you so much.